We've all been there. You're standing in the beer aisle staring at the same selection that was there last week and just wishing you could try something different. That's where Tavour comes in. Tavour is the best and easiest way for you to get the beers that you can't find in your favorite bottle shop.
No need to hunt down people to trade with or worry about sending some sketchy guy a PayPal account hoping that he delivers on the bottle that you want. Tavour has your back. They only work with independent breweries, so there's no risk of getting suckered into buying an InBev beer pretending to be a craft brew.
And it's insanely easy. Just sign up for your free account, download the Tavour app for your Android or iPhone, and you'll get notifications when new beers are ready. Just go to the app and click Get It, and they'll put the quantity requested aside for you and ship it to your door. You can ship as many beers as you want for a flat fee, and you can schedule your delivery as soon as 1 week and as late as 5 after you select the beer you want to buy.
And now, fans of Craft Brewed Sports can get $10 in credit after you buy your first beer through Tavour.com. Just go to our website, craftbrewedsports.com, and click the Tavour link in the menu bar. Create your free account, and after your first beer is shipped out, you'll see a $10 credit hit your account. There's no commitment, no contract, no gimmicks, just great beer delivered directly to your door. Drinking beer and watching sports is pretty awesome, and one of the few things on par is drinking beer and playing video games. But dropping all that cash on games that end up collecting dust after you're done with them sucks. But there's no sense in trading in old games unless you really want 25 cents off your new one. There's a better way, GameFly.
GameFly has over 8,000 new releases and classics available to rent for Xbox One, Xbox 360, PS4, PS3, PS Vita, Wii U, Wii, and 3DS, as well as older systems. As a GameFly member, you can rent as many console and handheld games as you want and get them delivered right to your mailbox for one low monthly fee.
And if you like a game so much that you don't want to send it back, you can keep it for a low use price. There are never any due dates or late fees, and GameFly also offers the ability to rent Blu-ray and DVD movies as part of the regular service at no extra charge.
And right now, GameFly is offering fans of Craft Brewed Sports a premium free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. To get that free trial started today, just go to gameflyoffer.com/craftbrewedsports. That's gameflyoffer.com/craftbrewedsports. Or just head on over to our website, craftbrewedsports.com, and click the GameFly link in the menu bar.
This is Bronson Arroyo from the Cincinnati Reds, and you're listening to Craft Brewed Sports with Scott and Mike.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another edition of Craft Brewed Sports. I am Mike. With me as always, my main man Scott. The man behind the computer is Joe. This is Craft Brewed Sports. Scott, welcome back, man. You ready to tap this keg of sports knowledge?
For the next 100, you pump up more.
Deal, man. Good to have you back, man. I missed last week.
Good to have you guys back,
It was
man.
weird. It was weird being off. Joe, good seeing you again, man. How you doing?
Hey, guys. My weeks don't flow the same without the
I know
the
it's
schedule of the
everything's
show.
it's messed up when we're not doing the show. I'm not even gonna mess around here with small talk. Let's get into introducing our guest right off the bat because I'm super excited about this. Once again, sitting back in the studio with us, Mr. Saturn Nuts himself, Bronson Arroyo.
we did talk about that last time. All right.
When I found out about that, man, I was like, that's my favorite nickname of any athlete I've ever heard of, and I was planning that intro the whole time. It's like, I'm definitely bringing up
You
Saturn
snuck
Nuts
that
again.
one in on me, too, because I remember, but I completely forgot it.
I think we figured out that I didn't know where that came from.
Yeah, you had no idea. Well, thanks for coming in, man, and sitting with us again. Super excited to have you on the show, dude. It's been about a year, right?
Yeah, it's getting close. It's been right about a year. That's right. It was probably June because we were talking about it was near my last start. So that was definitely in June, Father's Day. So it's almost to the day.
It's insane.
And uncanny timing by us. We don't usually have that, but we'll take it.
No, we just lucked into that one, and I'm fine with it. But thanks, man, for coming back in, hanging out with us. Really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no problem.
We got an awesome show. Bronson's going to be giving us some insight for you. We once that episode ended, we were like kicking ourselves because we had so many other questions.
Yes.
We got done with that episode, man, and we were like, man, I wish we had like 3 hours to talk to him because we could have kept going. Like, there was so much that we wanted to do. So super glad
perfect.
you're back, man, to clear up some other questions that we had. Before we get into all that, though, let's talk about the motherfucker of the week. Scott, who is the first option for Motherfucker of the Week?
Kobe. Which I shouldn't have to say anymore because he's just a general motherfucker. But this week he actually had the gall to say that LeBron should have passed more and done less, trusted his teammates more in the finals and the playoffs in general. The same exact thing he didn't do during his time in the NBA that everybody said that he should do. So Kobe is your first nominee for Motherfucker of the Week.
Bronson, did you watch a lot of NBA?
I haven't. I know LeBron and Kobe shoot 60 times a game, but I couldn't tell you details.
All right, well that's fair enough. Your other option, an old school NBA player here, Charles Barkley is your second option for Motherfucker of the Week. Charles, after Game 4, put the argument to bed. I don't want to hear another person talk about LeBron being better than Jordan. I would slap the next person that says it. And then video captured Chuck hiding from LeBron in the tunnel, acting like he was part of the security detail, back turned, making sure LeBron didn't see him. So just completely punked out. The dude who hypes up how much better his generation of basketball was and how much tougher they were was the one hiding from LeBron. So he is option number 2.
I bet if you asked Chuck too, he's talking to a fan or something along those lines. Like they asked him about that video.
Right? Yeah. There's no way.
It's a shame there's no more TNT post game shows for them to bring that video up and be like, "Hey Chuck, what were you doing here? Looks like you were ducking LeBron."
Get your votes in. It's available on our Facebook page. We will reveal the winner by the end of the episode here. Let's talk about the beer that we're drinking tonight.
That's it. Dude, this is called Big Gruesome. I mean, if that doesn't say it all, we got a chocolate peanut butter stout.
It's by Springhouse Brewing Company, 8.3% ABV. They load peanuts in every step of the brewing process with this beer. It's just overloaded with that peanut flavor. The Tavour notes on this one mentioned a flavor of wafer, some drizzled honey, pretzel, and dark chocolate. I don't taste any of that. I taste a lot of peanuts.
Taste chocolate and peanuts.
Yep, that's about it.
That's all I need, too.
One review on Untappd, someone wrote, OMG, best stout ever. And that kind of sold it for me. I had to pick it up.
No hyperboles here.
Yeah. Bronson, you're not a beer guy. You talked about last episode how it's never fun to be doing workouts and squats the day after getting super hungover.
That's
or
right,
being super hungover. But what do you think of this one, man?
I think this is great, actually. You know, I don't drink much beer at all. And what I don't love about beer is that kind of that skunky, that quick aftertaste you get. That's just that like bite. Pow, that bite in the back. And I don't love that. This doesn't have much of it at all. And I'm a sucker for a Reese's peanut butter cup. So this there you go. Pretty good.
Scott, I know you're on board. Is it just the peanut butter and chocolate that you're tasting on this one?
Yeah, the dark chocolate's coming through real strong on there, and but it's got a nice heavy dose of peanut butter. No sweetness to it. So it's not like Sweet Baby Jesus.
Right. We've had some of those that it feels like it's giving you a
little
cavity.
Bit of sugar. Yeah. So this is a little bit more mellow, I guess you could say, on the flavor profile, but it's good. I like it.
I like how Joe is completely passed on this beer. He's like, I'm not even touching it.
Yeah, Joe's not.
I got
not
6 shots that I got to give, so I'm not doing that. We'll get into some of your shots today. So that's your beer for this week. Big Gruesome Chocolate Peanut Butter Stout by Springhouse Brewing Company.
We'll see how it holds up.
You want to get into Upper Deck, man?
You know I do.
All right.
I'm waiting for the music.
Yeah, there
it is. There's my cue. All right. Craft Brewed Sports and Upper Deck is brought to you by Minuteman Tickets, owned by a couple of local Ohio dudes who are sports fans just like all of you.
Minuteman helps customers find the best deals on the market. These guys are all about honesty all the time, every time. If someone has a better price, they'll tell you straight up.
I'm late, I'm sorry, but Minuteman isn't just sports or concerts. They'll help you out with tickets to literally any event you want. They'll even sell your tickets for you.
And with college football right around the corner, be sure to hit up Minuteman for all of your OSU football ticketing needs.
So go like them on Facebook, where they do weekly giveaways of merchandise, sports, and concert apparel, and even tickets.
Even tickets.
Yes.
Check them out at MinutemanTickets.com or call them at 614-943-3000 and avoid all of the fees. That's 614-943-3000.
Definitely check those guys out. And we're going to start off Upper Deck with a little baseball news. The Yankees are mad at ESPN, Mike. That's because ESPN doesn't seem to give a damn. Well, a couple of weeks ago, they decided that they were going to move a Yankees scheduled 1 o'clock game that is to occur on July 8th because they want to get another primetime game with the Yankee eyeballs on them. Well, that's when the Yankees are playing the Blue Jays. That game was supposed to be at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And there's a problem there from the Yankees' perspective because the very next day on Monday, they have a doubleheader scheduled with Baltimore. And so now...
That's gotta suck.
So now...
Look at Bronson just like,
without
shitty.
their approval...
Done that before.
Unilaterally, they just the ESPN decided, hey, you're playing Sunday night, and the Yankees are, basically wanting to boycott ESPN because of that. So there's the potential there that they will definitely be playing 3 games within a 24-hour span. But I'm hoping to God that something takes the Yankees into about 24 innings, and they don't get to Baltimore till just before start of the next game. And I know the Orioles are weak this year, but I hope they just roll all over them.
How brutal would that be, man?
Oh, that reminds me of a game. I think it was my first start in 2005. I think I opened up the season. It was either like a noon game or 1 o'clock game in Fenway Park, but the team was in Baltimore. And the plane broke down, and they slept on the tarmac until about 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. Landed, went straight to the park, and we played. And I had gotten a good night's rest, but the rest of the club hadn't. And it was like, just playing daytime games in general was terrible. And to have to sit on the plane all night and not really sleep.
Dude, that sounds brutal. Oh, that sucks. But
now,
how
sucks
much
to suck, Yankees.
How much of that, though, do you think they have any sway with ESPN? Because, the Yankees and Red Sox seem to be ESPN's bread and butter. ESPN doesn't want to piss off the Yankees. So do you think there's anything that ESPN will back off on this because the Yankees are pissed?
Yeah, I don't know who makes those final decisions, actually. Game times change, especially during the playoffs, depending on, obviously, they're trying to get ratings.
Right.
But I don't know who has the final call when it comes to that, if there's a scheduled game, if they can change it. Those contracts have probably been signed. But you remember, TV deals are pumped a lot of money into baseball.
Right.
And so they might have some leverage there.
It seems like they must have because ESPN more or less just said, deal with it. Which is weird to me that they can affect the schedule like that on just moving a game from 1 o'clock all the way to the evening show. And who got bumped is the question I had, because it didn't say who got bumped.
Yeah, I don't know.
Whoever was supposed to be the Sunday night game. You're playing whenever. We don't care.
Surprise, surprise. Yankees on Sunday Night Baseball.
That never happens. It'll be the first time ever.
All right, well, speaking of the Yankees, the Staten Island Yankees are in the news this week. They're a short season A-class affiliate of the New York Yankees. They actually play in the New York Penn League with the Mahoning Valley Scrappers, the Staten Island Yankees do. Well, at least that's what we're going to call them for now. They've finally given people what they want. So back in 2016, they ran a fan vote, which we all know is the worst decision you can make as a professional organization to give fans the vote. They were at least smart enough to not allow people to choose the options. They just gave them 5 options to pick from, but they were saying they were going to rebrand the team, and the fans voted on the New York Pizza Rats.
Wow.
Yeah. And apparently the Staten Island Yankees said, yeah, we didn't get the paperwork in time, so we can't do it for the 2017 season. Sorry, everybody. But they have agreed this year to honor that fan poll. Every Saturday night for the rest of the season, they will wear New York Pizza Rat jerseys, hats.
Jerseys don't look half bad, though.
None of it looks bad. Even the logo, I'm like, it's a Pizza Rat, and this actually looks kind of cool. Like, I'd rock that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all official. They will do that every Saturday night for the rest of the season.
Pizza Rat, a Devil Ray. I mean, about the same thing, right?
Same class.
We were talking before about like the weirdest MLB mascots that are out there, the minor league affiliates. They tend to have like the baby cakes in New Orleans.
The biscuits.
Always,
That's my favorite.
Did you ever play against any ridiculous mascots when you were coming up?
It's tough to remember, honestly, man. I know I played in New Orleans. I feel like I played in every minor league ballpark. I mean, I had 7 years in the minor leagues, but
well, they're always changing them too.
That's true.
Back when you were in the minors, they were probably a completely set of different names for a lot of them.
Yeah, the teams move around a lot depending on the organizations as they change, and then they flip a lot of those teams. But what you do remember is the guys that come through, like they call them the superstars. So these are the guys that travel around the country, going from minor league park to minor league park, wearing those outfits that they blow up with the air, and they just have like they've got names like Clammy Sosa, and they like a giant clam.
and they put on a
Nice.
show in the ballpark. That's where you see the chicken too, the famous San Diego chicken. Those guys tore around.
That's awesome. Clammy's so soft.
I like that.
That's my favorite mascot pun ever.
I wonder what
fantastic.
If Clammy's still running around. I wonder what color he is right now.
That's true.
It's too soon.
That's true.
No, okay.
Is that pink clam?
Yeah, pink clam. What?
What? Oh, all right.
All right. Well, if you guys thought there was going to be no way that the streak could possibly continue, think again, because this will be the last time for a little while, we think. But we have more Kardashian news.
Won't be.
So there's some rumors floating around out there just before the final series got started, that Tristan Thompson wanted the series to go as long as possible. Why? Because he was worried about getting back to L.A. to have to face the Kardashian family after, his off the field or off the court activities, if you will, with various women not named Khloe Kardashian. So dude was just straight scared. He didn't care about playing the Warriors. He didn't care about...
I mean, wouldn't you be scared of the Kardashian family?
I guess, but...
I'd be terrified of those women.
I don't know.
I wouldn't want to go back after something like that. No way. There's no way I'd want to go back to that.
Well, he's gotta. I mean, she did have his kid.
Why would you even start, though, bro? That's a good point. You just know it's going to turn out bad, bro. Listen,
that's
the Kardashians are in that category. You only go there once, bro. That's it. You notch it in the belt, and you're like, I'm out, bro. There's no reason to try to get burned, man.
They gotta have something going that I mean, guys keep coming back.
Athletes, period.
Yeah, every
just
athlete.
Keep revolving door.
You see, I mean, it should have ended after Reggie Bush. People should have been like,
I'm staying away.
Tainted meat. But nope, they keep going back.
So yeah, there's your Kardashian / Tristan Thompson story, and like I said, that might be it until the NBA season starts back up again. But we'll keep you posted.
No, there's gonna be some stuff. Now because he's going back. Now he's got to go back. So there's going to be a story next week about how they
he got his ass beat.
Yeah, Khloe beat him up and Kim sat on his head. Anyways, here's a little lesson for you. If you're going to move your team, get ready for fans to really hate you. And that is on full display in this story. So this one starts back in November of 2015. Reggie Bush, the aforementioned, was playing for your 49ers.
I was watching this game live when it happened.
Yeah, they were playing in St. Louis against the Rams, and during a punt return, Reggie, his momentum carried him off out of bounds, and he slipped on this concrete warning track that's around the stadium in St. Louis, tore his ACL, was done for the season, pretty much wasn't the same guy he was again. Like, he never really recovered from that.
To be fair, though, when it happened... everything happened so fast, and they showed the replays where he slipped on it or whatever. But initially, they're like, "Oh, and Reggie Bush is down and he's injured." My first thought was, that sounds about right, because Reggie's whole pro career was battling injuries or coming back from injuries, so it wasn't really shocking. But when you saw him slip, I thought that's really weird that they have that right behind the bench.
And you
area.
see it all the time in some of those stadiums where there's like this concrete thing and there's dudes running with spikes on. It's like, why would you even like? Why is that even there?
Yeah, who commissioned that?
People always slip on that shit. So he slipped. He tore his ACL. He ended up suing the Rams and the St. Louis Convention and Visitors Commission, calling this warning track, quote, a concrete ring of death. Well, the trial just wrapped up this week, and a St. Louis Jersey, who I assume... what did I say?
You said Jersey.
Yeah, I meant Jersey.
I don't know how many jerseys are going to wrap up court cases.
You know, yeah, okay. Fuck you. Anyways, the jury just wrapped it up, and I'm assuming they're still a little jaded from the Rams moving. They awarded Reggie Bush $12.45 million in damages. They said the Rams were 100% responsible for this injury just stuck it to him.
When you can stick it in them one more time for leaving, you got to take advantage of it. You know what else, though? There was a couple other people that had said, like, this wasn't just Reggie, throwing this out there. There were other people who had injuries on this. That concrete ring of death wasn't even something he coined. Some other people had, said that, and they brought this up. But the other fishy thing about this, it was funny that the Rams fans were like,
right.
Yeah, we're going to stick it to you. But the Rams, before they moved out of there, knew there was something up. Because after he did it, they immediately laid down a protective surface over there so that it wouldn't happen again. So they knew they were in the wrong.
That's probably why they got screwed on this.
As soon as it happened, yeah. And that was one of those, you guys pretty much told on yourself when you did it. So
we were talking, Bronson, when we found this story, Minute Maid Park and that hill that they have. Right. How long do you think before somebody gets really fucked up on that. I mean, Houston has a history of having some weird shit in the outfield like that.
Didn't they take the hill out?
Yeah, they did now,
it's
but
gone
the
now.
hill wasn't
You're
even the
right.
big deal. The big deal was the flagpole in the middle.
Right, that's what
It was like, all
yeah.
right, so we already got to deal with the hill. The guy's got to look up. He's starting to feel like he's losing his balance, and now I'm going to smash into a pole. I mean, they did have padding around it, but it was like completely useless. It was like no reason to have it. They pulled the whole thing out. They're both gone now.
Yeah. But they had a train. I mean, look at the train. The pretty train in left field. It's okay to have a giant hill that could be hazardous to the athlete's health because there's a train.
I don't understand why these decisions are even made. Like, who looks at that and is like, nah, that's a good idea.
That's what I'm saying. When they built that park, I have no idea who thought, all right, we'll sign off on this.
Yeah.
After the original aesthetic, it's like, no, okay, this isn't a good idea.
Yeah, horrible plan. But there you go. St. Louis sticking it to the Rams one more time.
I do enjoy that, though.
It's Team Petty.
Sticking with MLB, as we were just talking about there, former Major League pitcher Kevin Brown is now seen as a hero in his neighborhood. That's because in his neighborhood area in Macon, Georgia, there was a string of mail theft going on around there. Well, Kevin Brown decided he was going to put a stop to it, so he hid out behind his neighbor's house, waiting for somebody to come up and steal the mail, and sure enough, a couple of guys did. One of them happened to be a 15-year-old. Kevin Brown held them at gunpoint.
That seems like a normal
and then
reaction.
called the cops until the cops could get there.
For Kevin Brown, that's par for the course. I mean, have you seen the guy tear up a locker room after getting shelled?
Yeah, this story, which Joe actually brought to both of our attentions, because this went under my radar or whatever. When I saw it, I thought, wow, that's what Kevin Brown's doing in his free time now? Dude retired and is like, I'm going to dole out justice.
I'm hanging out with my piece. I'm going to hide around this corner.
If anybody steals my mail,
take this mail and see what happens to you.
They're going down. That is hardcore. Could you imagine? My thought. Okay, so I mean, you got to be a real loser to go around stealing mail. I don't know what you're trying to get out of mail, but so imagine you walk
credit
up to a
card
house.
statements. You get the number. Done.
Okay, cool.
There you go.
I
mean, not that I've ever
you're
thought
a professional
about it,
thief,
but you know,
all right.
I
I couldn't imagine though walking up to a house, grabbing the mail, and then turning around. Holy shit! It's Kevin Brown. Holy shit! Is that a gun? Kevin Brown, are you gonna rob me? No, I'm waiting for the cops to show up. Well, shit. This is not how I planned my day to go. Unbelievable.
Do you think it was like a moment where he just had the gun pulled and they like got scared first, and then as they're standing there with their hands up, they're like, "Are you Kevin Brown?
I hope
Is that Kevin Brown? Oh shit,
dude! I'm a huge Marlins fan. I know I'm going to jail, but could you sign something for me? Could you sign this piece of stolen mail?
Oh shit,
That is
one.
wild.
All right, let's wrap up Upper Deck with maybe the wildest team that we've had featured on this show. The World Cup started today, and some teams were a little more pumped to be there than others. Last week, it was reported that the Mexico national team, they finished up a friendly, their final tune-up game before leaving for Russia, and to celebrate that win and have a little send-off party, they decided to have a 24-hour bender where they hired 30 high-end prostitutes to come hang out with them.
Take that, Argentina.
24 hours. They were apparently in some like really nice neighborhood, and they were just like, yeah, let's get 30 high-end hookers to come hang out, and partied for 24 hours and then flew to Russia. What I found interesting, there were 30 prostitutes. There are only 23 dudes on the team.
Yeah. You got a medical staff, and some guys got to get that 2-for-1 blue light special at Kmart, son.
Yes. I was unaware of how the numbers worked out. I just thought there was, 30. That's a nice round
I checked
number.
it out. I was like, I wonder how many people are on that team, because 30 seems a little high. And I looked it up. 23 guys on the roster.
That is classic. Kids, learn how to play soccer. Go
Basically,
play for Mexico.
if you're, since Team USA didn't make it, if you're looking for a team to cheer for, I'm going all in on Mexico, because that's a damn good team to cheer for.
They're our neighbors too. I mean,
Party with Mexico, man. Because if that's what they did just to go to the World Cup, can you imagine the party if they won?
60 hookers.
It's gonna be.
We're gonna double the amount of hookers we got.
This has been Upper Deck, brought to you as always by Minuteman Tickets. Man, that's Bronson. Has there ever been like I was thinking about this week? So Golden State won the championship. We saw their parade, and everybody was like drinking Henny from the fans. Alex Ovechkin, after the Capitals won, has been an internet superstar with how ridiculous he's gotten. You were on the Red Sox team when they broke the curse and won the World Series. How ridiculous were those parties?
Yeah,
that had to be.
Listen, it didn't end. It was actually, it wasn't in that time. It wasn't so much about us. It was about the people. You know, and a lot of times maybe it's about the players because they've won a few of them or whatever. But you know, they hadn't won one in 86 years, and it was just about how people were reacting. You know, when 4.5 million people come out in 30-degree weather and it had been raining all night to see you go by in a duck boat, man, it's like it's awe-inspiring. I mean, you look at the Cubs, look at the numbers of the Kansas City Royals, look at a normal team that wins a championship and see how many people come out. It's like maybe 1 million, 1.5 million, 2 at the most. I mean, you're almost doubling that in ridiculous weather to come out. I mean, people are in the trees and on the top of buildings. I mean, we landed from St. Louis 7 o'clock in the morning, and the cars are just stopping on the highway, man. They're just pulling their cars over and holding up newspapers to say amen. That's it. Like, as the buses go by, dude, they don't care what else is going on. It's like time has stopped here. But as far as like us partying, it was weird. It was the one thing we didn't really get to do as a team, because you partied in the clubhouse the whole night, and then we got on the plane and immediately flew back, and it was in the morning by the time we landed. So we really didn't get to hang out, as a bunch of guys like we did here in Cincinnati. After clinching a couple times, we got to go to a club. You know, everybody got to be a part of it. The front office came. Everybody's having a great time. We really didn't get to do that. And back then, there was obviously no internet, so you didn't have any internet sensations that were just doing stuff in their own hotel rooms or on their own time and then getting publicity for it. So you know, you didn't have that stuff going on.
Man, that would be – I feel like that's one of those championships. It's like when Cleveland won finally and, like, they had all those people come out to that parade. It had to pale in comparison, man. I don't remember, like, the coverage that happened in Boston when Boston won, but –
Oh, I mean, I remember it, but it wasn't as I guess as big as those things get to be now because they stream them and all that other stuff. And so, I mean, I do remember how big of a deal it was.
Right. It wouldn't be quite as national, though. Back then, Cold Pizza was on. And they would show stuff like that. But, yeah, it's gotten more and more where you have more access to seeing some of these things, especially. We couldn't stream anything on Facebook or on YouTube.
Right.
You couldn't go live, you know, up in a duck boat as people are going by. So if you live in New England, you got to see it on the news. And other than that, you have – I've got footage of it, but, you know, I'm not going to upload that anytime soon, probably.
The old personal collection.
That goes in the file marked taxes 2012 on the desktop.
That's right.
Well, man, last time you were here, we mentioned it earlier. You were saying, you know, you're not a big beer fan, working out. Now that you're retired, you've been doing a lot of boozing. You've been hanging out, partying a little bit more.
I've been hanging out, but I don't know, man. I enjoy being sober most of the time. It's like. Well, I guess it's not that I enjoy being sober. I enjoy being buzzed. I do enjoy being buzzed, but it's about, you know, kind of balancing the best parts with the worst parts of whatever it is you're doing. You know what I mean?
Right.
And drinking has just never been my thing. I might tap into some other stuff, but drinking is just not. But you know, I still love to get up and work out during the day, man, and you know, go for a swim or, you know, play some golf or do whatever. Just be kind of physical and just try to burn off some excess energy, I think, because a lot of times, you know, all these years I've been so programmed to do that, and it's part of my sanity. And if I don't get to do that, you start feeling like a caged animal a little bit. So, you know, playing music and singing is also very physical, so it gives me the opportunity to do that. But if I'm not working out for the day or singing in the basement, I mean, it's very rare that a day is going to go by that I'm not going to do one of those two things.
I can't imagine just like trying to turn it off all of a sudden like that. Because, I mean, everything did kind of end abruptly last year for you, which, you know, we were talking about before we got on the air was really unfortunate how the season kind of unfolded for you. I'm just glad that you don't hold it against us because, seriously, for the last year.
Right after.
I mean, you were here on Thursday, and then that Sunday I was all pumped. I was like, we're going to the game, and Bronson's pitching, and he was just in my house, and, like, everybody from work is there. I was like, I know, he's just there. He's hurt. What the fuck just happened? Oh, shit.
Oh, shit, he's done.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember reading the text on my phone from you, like, looking at it, and I'm like, no, wait, you mean he's done?
Yeah.
He was just fine. He's done. Oh, wow.
Yeah, man.
We fucked him.
Yeah, I felt like such a jinx.
It wasn't all the years of pitching.
It was us.
We ruined it.
We were very into a craft brewed sports jinx there for a while.
Mike has a tendency to screw over teams when he picks them and whatnot. So we did think that.
It was a lot of guilt that I've been holding, man. So I'm glad you don't. Hold
You guys didn't have Ocho Cinco in here before he got arrested a couple times, did you?
No. No Bengals yet, so they can't blame it on us.
That's right.
In all seriousness, the coming up to that day, I mean, you were talking a little bit before. Tell us about like going up to that time. Like, did you have an inkling it was coming to an end? What was going through your mind leading up to that, where it's like all of a sudden one day the lights go out, the game's done for you?
Yeah, I think I had gone through most of the emotional stuff back in 2016 when I was with the Nationals, because the doctor there told me that my shoulder was 80% tore. And when they told me that, I was like, well, it's game, set, match. I mean, if you got a shoulder that's that bad, there's no way you're going to pitch ever again. And Dusty Baker was like, you know what, let's let our doctors look at it. He read the scan and didn't know that you already had a previous surgery, so it could be a little skewed. Yeah. So he said, just stay here in the rookie league, do what you got to do, and let me see if I can get you back for the second half. And that didn't happen that year. But, as I was grinding through that process, I got the opportunity to realize, I'd played every single day from 1995 to 2014. So by the time I'd gone through these surgeries and you're slowly seeing that your body's not bouncing back the way it should, I knew there was a chance that I would never pitch again. But just to be able to get back in a Reds uniform, make the ball club, and to just stand out on the mound one time, to me was almost like I had already won, that comeback regardless. And then I got an opportunity to win 3 games. But I didn't know when it was going to end, because there was days that it would feel good. You'd go out on the mound and it felt pretty good. And I'm like, all right, my shoulder feels almost 100% and my elbow's just bugging me a little bit. And then you go out for the next start and it'd be completely opposite. The shoulder would be hurting you and your elbow would feel relatively fine. Or some days they both were just hurting, and I'm trying a million different things, taking different anti-inflammatories, having cortisone shots. You're trying every trick you got in the book to try to put the fire out on these things, and it's just not working. And so I really didn't know when it was going to end, because I had also won games in 2014 with the Diamondbacks when I had no ligament in my elbow and my shoulder was tore. So, in the back of your mind, you're always thinking there's a way, I'm going to find a way. And when I beat the Giants, I think that was my 3rd win. And I was feeling pretty good, and I was like, I think I might be able to, continue to ascend up here, get a little bit more velocity, and get back to feeling normal. And then, I just hit a wall, and it just wasn't going to come back. But once I saw the handwriting on the wall, it was something that was easy actually to let go, because I had already been contemplating it since 2016.
I was wondering about that, like if you had. Obviously you knew what was going on in your arm, but I was wondering what that feeling was like once you realized a game you've put your whole life into is over, man. That had to be. Yeah. I mean, there had to be some type of.
There's no doubt. I had played in 2016. I thought it was game, set, match, and there's no doubt. I sat in my house and I thought about who should I call, man. And I called Peter Gammons, and I called Dusty Baker, and I called Kevin Millar, and it was just a handful of people that I'd been real close to in my career. And I felt like, it was very similar to maybe, I don't know how you guys felt about graduating high school, but it was a sense that you were going to be leaving something that you've been part of for such a long time. And it was really the people. It was the group of people that you weren't going to be around anymore. Yeah. And you weren't going to be traveling on those buses anymore and on those planes and just being part of the boys club, Right. And, that hit me hard in 16. But after, thinking that was the end, it was easy last year just because – I knew I was going to travel with the ball club for the last 3 months of the season, and I had strategically come back to the place that I knew that if that happened, I was going to enjoy being around these guys more than any other ball club, because they knew me through and through. And so it was fun to be kind of like in between the players and the coaching staff, to help Brian Price out a little bit, to talk to some of the young guys, to throw team parties, to run a radio show. Like you got I had like my own radio show on the bus.
Nice.
When we land on in most cities, before we drive to the hotel, take a half hour, I'd run a radio show. And awesome. me and Scott Feldman. So it was good, man. And I got to wind down in a way that I honestly couldn't expected. I wouldn't expect from anybody except a guy like Derek Jeter or David Ortiz to stand on that field in Great American Ballpark and have them give me, 45 minutes an hour or whatever they gave me out there on the Jumbotron, with guys like Eddie Vedder and Theo Epstein and Johnny Cueto and Mike Leake are up there talking to me on the Jumbotron. They give me a rocking chair and a guitar and just some real cool stuff, man. So it was actually fun.
So besides the camaraderie and hanging out with the guys, is there anything that you really miss about being involved in the game in general?
The only thing that I mean, other than hanging with the guys, you just don't miss the squat workouts, man, in the weight room, to be honest with you, I mean, you just don't. The grind, you hear Usain Bolt say, like the reason that I'm not disappointed by kind of winding out of this thing is because you don't really love that intensive work, right? There is a part of you that loves it, and there are days that you love it, but you don't love it every day.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's nice to just relax. But I think the part that I'll miss, no doubt about it, is the 32 times that you get to step on the mound. Mm-hmm. When you wake up that morning, there's a total difference to how your body's reacting. Your engine is already running as soon as you open your eyes. There's like a little bit of adrenaline kind of there. You're having those butterflies. You're not eating the same as you normally do. Mm-hmm. Everything about that day is totally different. And then you stand on that mound, you've prepared, and you throw those first couple pitches, and then it's game on, and all the butterflies leave, and it's like, all right, let's see what happens. When you walk out of a stadium, you walk across the field to catch the bus in Houston. You're on the road, and you're eating maybe an ice cream, and you just threw 7 1/3, man, and just won 3-1 and beat a guy like Roger Clemens or Justin Verlander or whatever it is. In those moments, I was sucking that stuff up because I knew it wouldn't last forever. But though that's the magic. When you look around, you go, there was just 40,000 people in here. They just watched me do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't replace that in any other part of your life. It's very, very difficult to do that. I mean, for me, I get a little bit of that out of playing music for people, and I get to perform, so you get a little bit about the butterflies, but not on the same level as it's going to be pitching on a major league mound.
Not yet. Not until you got 40,000 people at Riverbend.
You get 20,000 people listening to a show, absolutely. And if they're singing along with the song, that's the key, right?
Well, there'll at least be three guys there sing along. We'll make it.
I hope so. I don't know. Babies are coming. I'll do my best. I'll leave the kids at home.
Hey, man, I need a sponsor, bro. We were talking about
No. I'm going to be there because that's going to be my because I'll be like, hey, look, I know the kids are crazier tonight, but Bronson's been on the show multiple times.
It's true. I got to return the favor.
Yeah, I mean, it's just payback time. So,
have you been going up around town at all? Doing any shows around town, playing around?
I have. I just played on the west side at a place called Jim and Jack's the other night. We played a 2-hour show, and it's kind of a country bar on the west side on River Road.
Nice.
And we did a benefit there a while back, and he asked me to come back and play. And I got a local band of guys here that they all got good jobs, and they don't have to play for we don't have to ask a ton of money to play. Mm-hmm. But it's just fun to get out there, man, and just rip and sing Pearl Jam and the Foo Fighters and Stone Temple Pilots and the stuff that I just love since I was a 15-year-old kid. To do that with a band that sounds good and just to make it happen, man, to pull it off. It's not easy for anybody to do it, much less a guy who played, baseball for 20 years.
How much time are you putting into it, like practice-wise with the guys? Like, are you guys just jam sessions throughout the week, or is it just sort of like, we know what we're doing. We got this show booked. Let's go hang out.
No, we play when I'm in town. I'm not always here. I'm here about half the time, but when I am here, we play at least once a week.
Nice.
And then you piecemeal the shows together, and sometimes we'll play multiple times in a week if we have to. But it's getting to the point where we've got about 35 songs. It's a lot of songs, but we're getting most of them down. You still feel a little shaky on a few of them, but nothing that really the fans would recognize that you've messed up. It's some real subtleties. But we grind pretty hard, man. I mean, not just with the band, but in general, I'm down in the basement 3-4 days a week. People don't realize that your vocal cords are very similar to any other muscle in the body. And if you don't kind of keep them going, you just can't fire it up at that degree.
Yeah.
Now, I could sing some I could sing some James Taylor or some stuff that's easy on the vocal all day probably, but if you go out there and rip Corduroy and Even Flow and Alive, man, you better be in shape, dude, or you're going to hit the wall real quick.
That would tear you up, man. All right, well, we were kicking actually, Scott, I'll let you ask the question because that was the one right away that you were like, I can't believe
it's
we
like
didn't
minutes
ask him.
after you walked out of the house. So the A-Rod play. What were your thoughts on that whole situation? Because I'll never forget watching that and thinking it was one of the dirtiest plays. And I guess
it up for people listening that may not know what you're talking about. Because we know we're like
we've
got
super
a
baseball
name for it.
nerds, and I have the play running through my head. But back when you were with Boston, you're covering first. A-Rod's running to first, and the ball gets there about the same time as he does, but he slaps your arm and knocks the ball away. It knocks your arm away so you can't make the play, and then he ends up being safe and all sorts of shenanigans after that. But What was going through your mind during that entire sequence? Because I remember thinking, wow, that's one of the dirtiest things you'll ever see in baseball. But I also went back and looked at it not that long after, we had you on. And you were like amazingly calm through that whole thing. And I thought, wow, if some guy just knocked my arm off that and did,
I'd be ready to throw down.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been going nuts. But what were your thoughts during that whole thing?
For me, I've always just been built around I don't even have to try. It's just kind of there. The way my genetic makeup is that I'm always focused on the result. You know what I mean? And I don't get caught up in the emotion of a game. I don't get it caught up with, I just gave up a homer and the guy just showed me up and I'm going to drill him next time. Because in my mind, I'm thinking I'm not going to give a free base to a guy. I don't have a big enough ego to think that just because the guy showed me up by hitting a home run that I need to go ahead and drill him the next time up. I'd rather hit him a first pitch ground ball to shortstop, right. Throw him a little cutter and get him out, and that would be it. And, he hit the homer on me. He deserves maybe to celebrate. So I've never functioned from that level. So it was easy for me to be in that type of a situation. As all I'm thinking about is it's Game 6 ALCS. We're in Yankee Stadium, man. There's 45,000 rocking hard here, and I want to make sure that they get this play right, because if not, if I have Jeter already scored, it's now 4-3. I've got A-Rod on second base with Sheffield up and one out, dude. Like I'm in trouble, right? So for me, it was I remember throwing him a slow breaking ball. It was like I took a little bit off, because Alex is the type of guy who on the inner half had a big hole, but everything out away from him, he loved to drive the ball to right center. So that meant that if you threw him a breaking ball that was probably like 78, 81 miles an hour, was going to be right in his path. They hit a homer to left center. So I threw it about 68 miles an hour, and he hit it right off the end of the bat, one of those cue shots where the ball's just spinning crazy. And I can remember just thinking, make sure this ball does not pop out of your glove. And so I got it, and as I was taking more time than you normally would to pick that thing up, as soon as I picked it up, I looked to my left, and Doug Minkiewicz should have recognized that I was going to make that play easily, and he would have been on first base. I would have flipped it to him, no problem. Right. But when I looked over, he was standing right next to me. He had come to get the ball. And in those type of situations, when the adrenaline's flowing like that, people tend to overplay something, right? Yeah. He would have never made that play. Doug would have been standing on first base if this was a regular season game. But in that moment, it's so big. He's trying to get to the ball, and we're standing next to each other. And so I thought Alex would have been bang, bang right next to me, and I would have needed to tag him really quick. And when I looked up, he was jogging. And so because he was so far away from me, it let me relax. Yeah. And I just thought I'll tag him really easily. I'll make sure that Jeter's not going anywhere past second base, and we're cool. And he chopped my arm, man. And when he chopped my arm, I didn't even know where the ball was, but I saw it flying down the right field line. He had kicked it, and my glove actually went behind his back. I caught my glove, and I remember just thinking, man, what is going on here? That can't be a legal play, but I've never even thought about that play. Right? It's like something you don't think about as a kid. It's like
you're not looking for that to happen.
You don't think I'm going to go to tag a guy, and he's just going to karate chop me, right? It's like, so I'm not thinking, is that legal, not legal? I'm just thinking that can't be normal. It can't be legal. But you never thought about that as a rule or anything. And Doug Minkiewicz asked me, he said, man, you all right, bro? Because he thought like maybe hit my arm really hard. And so then we just sat there, and Terry Francona came out and said, you can't do that. And then this whole sequence of stuff, if you guys see 4 Days in October, you see a little bit of it on film there, where we're all huddled up in the middle of the field, and Alex is trying to tell the umpires that was his regular running motion.
I always run like this.
I'll never forget. He was saying that's my regular running motion, and I was smirking. I was kind of laughing, right? Because I'm like, come on, bro. Like
that's all you can
honestly,
do in that moment.
Dude. Like, listen, dude. Like, can I change your last name to Trump? Is that we're gonna have? I'm just gonna lie straight to your face and tell you that's the real shit, right? And so I'm laughing, and he actually looks at the umpires and looks over at me and says, hey, look, he's laughing because he knows that you guys are getting it wrong. That's what he said. I couldn't believe it. He doubled down on it, bro. It was unreal. But then at the end of that,
trying to flip it on you.
Yes. So then at the end of that sequence, they call him out, and they send out Derek all the way back to first base, which helped us out because now I'm facing 2 outs with Gary Sheffield at the plate, and I don't have a guy in scoring position.
Right.
And so, but just at the end of that sequence, the riot crew starts coming out because the Yankee fans start throwing a bunch of stuff on the field.
Right.
And Francona's trying to round us up in the middle of the field so we don't get hit by batteries or whatever they're throwing. And if you look up, you see Orlando Cabrera, and he's looking over towards our dugout, and he's going like this, like he's rubbing his eyes, like you're whining like a little baby, and he's saying 7-7. If you see that on the film, and it's because Orlando had been arguing with these 3 Greek guys the whole game, and finally he's looking over at him, he's like, don't cry, we're going game 7. And they were like, we're gonna kill you when this game's over. It's classic, bro. It was classic. But then if you see the rest of the game, and the riot crew stands 20 deep down both lines for the rest of the game, man. You look around there in the ninth inning, and you feel like you're in a war zone, man. And it was a different atmosphere than I've ever been in a baseball game.
That is so bizarre to think that a game can turn like that. Like, I know we talked last time about like some of the fans and being a little psycho, like Philadelphia fans and stuff, but I can't imagine trying to then focus knowing like you got riot gear, like it was, hanging out on the side.
Everything was different about that series. You know, you'd go into we'd have our pitching meetings. And so we would have a practice day, and then you're playing whatever it was, game 5 the next day. And we're having our pitching meetings on the bus, riding from Yankee Stadium back to the hotel after the practice, because they're like, hey, we think that this place could be bugged. The offices could be bugged, and they could be listening to our scouting reports. So we're doing these on the buses, you know, where they're talking about like, hey, if you guys get room service, man, be careful. They could be poisoning the food. Like, dude, it's like,
holy shit,
yeah, you're thinking a whole nother level than you would normally think during the regular season, because it was just, I mean, you know, we'd get on the buses and we'd have a police escort, so everybody knew it was us going to the stadium. And I mean, you'd have, I think I said this last time, you'd have 75-year-old ladies working at Nordstrom, man, just freaking flipping you off in the window, and people mooning you all over the place, dude. It's like, it was a whole nother level of competition.
Man, that is intense.
Well, speaking of A-Rod, obviously he now works at Fox, or is it ESPN? That I don't know.
I think he's on ESPN.
I think it's ESPN. Yeah.
How do you feel about a guy who has Alex's admitted issues in the game ascending to a position like that, where now, I mean, it's more or less forgotten for a large group of fans? I mean, you know, it's almost like it never even happened. How do you feel about guys like that when you see them kind of move into a successful role after getting shunned from the game?
Yeah, you know, I don't know. I mean, I don't know Alex as a person, but the strength coach I was here with the Cincinnati Reds was with him in the last couple of years there with the Yankees. Mm-hmm. And he actually said he was just he described him as kind of like a baseball nerd, man, that he was actually a really good guy, and he just loved to play the game. And that he was a much better teammate than he thought before he got there, because he was the type of guy that would never say that I wouldn't play left field or I won't hit in the 8-hole. He just loved to play. And it wasn't like his ego was so large that he couldn't be moved out of the 3 or the 4-hole, or I have to play shortstop. You know, that he was a good guy. But, you know, as far as like trying to forget about the past, I think the most important thing probably for those guys is that the people who are voting for the Hall of Fame aren't going to forget. And I think that's one thing. And if you know, if a guy like him is going to get into the Hall of Fame, then obviously Bonds and McGuire and Sosa and all the other guys are going to have to get in, and Palmeiro. But, you know, I don't know. Just from observing Alex, you know, I don't know him. Like I said, I've literally never said hi to the guy ever, never shook his hand. But what I observe with him is that, you know, he has a tough time in the way that I would think Tiger Woods would as well, is that they always try to do everything a little too perfect. And when you don't have the ability to show people your flaws, then it always comes off as a fraud and a fake, right? And so it's like you would want him just to open up a little bit, and I hope that as he's doing, and I have seen him do some of these games on TV, and he's learning how to talk during a baseball game and
more relaxed.
Yeah, and be a little bit more relaxed, and you hopefully that guard comes down a little bit, because listen, at the end of the day, I played against Alex in high school, and he was a freak of nature then, and he was always going to be one of the greatest players who ever played the game, or steroids or no steroids, it makes no difference. But you just hope that guys can be comfortable in their own skin and just show you their true colors, because I think at the end of the day, what people really enjoy about you and your personality is that there is some great, and then there's going to be a couple things that maybe people don't agree with or whatever it is, but you don't have to come off as like a robot all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So this came out this week. This was kind of the feel-good story that came around, was in a high school championship game. There was a dude that struck out his childhood best friend, Cade him looking to end the game, won the state championship. And afterwards, as soon as he got that third strike call, the team came out to celebrate. He just walked towards home plate and like consoled his friend, gave him a hug, let him know everything was fine, and then went to celebrate. Is there anybody that you played against that you would be willing to do that for, or would it be like, no, fuck you, I'm going to celebrate with my team?
Well, it was very similar when I've only had 2 experiences in my life playing baseball. One was my best friend growing up, where I live near Tampa, Florida. He lived behind me, and we're still best friends to this day. And he really didn't play baseball, but he decided to play one year when we were 11 or 12 years old, and it was the first time that I'd ever had to stand on the mound and pitch against him. You know, and it was such a mismatch, because I'd been playing my whole life, and I was a bit of a freak of nature as a kid. And he had never really played. And I remember being on the mound and having a hard time keeping a straight face pitching against him. And I had the same feeling in Arizona when I got to pitch against Mike Leake and the Reds. And in 2014, I had just left this ball club. I had raised half these guys in the game. And I'm standing on the mound pitching against, Devin Mesoraco and Mike Leake and, Frazier and all those guys and Jay Bruce and Joey Votto and this whole cast of characters. And I found myself giving up a grand slam to Devin Mesoraco in the second inning, I think. And I couldn't help but just smile, man, because it was like, I didn't obviously want to get beat in the game, but at the end of the day, when you love people the way you do after you play with guys for 6-7 years, you can't help but be happy for them to be happy as well, even if it means that you're getting beaten. So I could see myself, if I was thrown against a guy like Leake and I'd punched him out to win the World Series, I probably would have celebrated first, but I probably would have been standing there thinking, man, I wish that it wasn't you that was standing on the other side of this ball.
I would hope that you wouldn't strike out Mike Leake to end a World Series game. That
would be a bad manager,
right?
Yeah,
that would be the worst managerial call of the history. No, I know what you
but
mean.
I'd
It
say,
just dawned on me like, holy, Mike Leake to end the World
he
Series,
man. You got to remember, bro. I'm pitching out of the bullpen in the 15th.
Okay,
He's the only guy left on the bench.
All right, and he can't hit for a pitcher.
That's
so
right.
all right, that's it. But that would be wild.
Oh shit, man! All right, well, you mentioned some of the past Reds that you played against. They're having a pretty terrible year this year.
Understatement.
And last year wasn't much better. It was a pretty rough year last year to be a Reds fan. When you're in the middle of a season like that, how do you find the motivation to just keep going? Like just knowing that like every day you're going out there and just getting your dick kicked in.
Well, you'd be surprised at how. I would say a 3, 4, 5 game span is about the most that it really resonates with your conscious. So, you don't remember, no matter whether it's horrible or fantastic. If you started the season 8-0 or you started 0-8, once you're 60 games in like they are now or whatever, you don't remember that at all. It isn't there.
Yeah.
It's just too far removed to have any kind of emotional connection to it. And so you really are going kind of maybe 2 series at a time. I'd say 6 days is about the longest you can really remember and feel what it was like to lose or win. And so when you go into Kansas City like they have the last 3 games and you win 3 in a row, literally the rest of the season doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because for one, you've got a bunch of games coming up ahead of you that you're trying to win and you're trying to be clear-minded and you're trying to be positive about. And also the last things that we can remember is that we just came back, won the 10th inning. Joey Votto hit a gapper to win this thing. And, so it's not as hard as you would think on a day-to-day basis. I would say the time of year that it gets tough is in September if you're completely out of the race. And a bunch of young guys are coming up, and now they're asking people to play who shouldn't be playing because maybe they want to test some of the young guys and see what they've got before next year. And a guy like Brandon Phillips has to maybe sit on the bench when he shouldn't be sitting on the bench, or Scooter Gennett, and they can become frustrating then. And the season can get long, and you're hoping this thing will end. But right now, where they are, this is pre-All-Star break. If you ask anybody in that ball club right now, man, what's the mentality in that locker room? They're all going to say, man, we're having a good time. There's no doubt in my mind because they started off so bad. Yeah. They also made a change in the manager and the pitching coach, and things have gotten a little bit better. And they're digging hard. You can see that the team is playing tough. They're putting more pressure on other ball clubs. You're hoping that Sal and Malley and these guys and Castillo are starting to get it a little bit, and that ERA is going to come from a 5.5 down to a 4. You're hoping that's happening, and is all you can be is optimistic because there's just nothing that you can pull out of the pessimism that you feel like is going to help you.
Yeah.
So the point is you just don't live in that. And like I said, you're just living in this small snapshot of the season.
So you're obviously still kind of keeping an eye on what they're doing, and you're obviously very aware of the recent outings. Let's talk about Shohei Ohtani and what he's done this year. Right as soon as, of course, he gets injured just before the show.
Jinx.
Yeah, I know. We're about to talk about him. But what he's doing is pretty much unprecedented. I mean, you have to go back to Babe Ruth to where it's like, how hard is it to do what he's doing? And like, how impressive is it when you look at it from, I mean, you're a pitcher, and you had to hit most of your career. I mean, he's doing it only every so often and taking the days off and all that. But how hard is it to do what he's doing, and how impressive is it?
Listen, just to be able to do two things at the highest level on the planet is almost impossible, right? I mean, it's really tough to be that good at two different things. And I said from the beginning, I don't think he could pull it off. But I was also talking about in a context where he wouldn't be DHing, where he'd be actually playing the field.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So because I know what it feels like to throw 7-8 innings and then have to get those workouts in and get those treatments and do all that stuff to get prepared for the next start 5 days later. And then to go out and have to run and maybe smash into a wall and steal second base and do all those things, I don't think it's possible in the long run. Now, if you're DHing, it's definitely more possible because just taking 4 at bats and just running the bases is a totally different ballgame than having to play defense. But even that being said, I mean, what he's doing is absolutely astonishing. I mean, the guy's got crazy power to the opposite field, he looked terrible in spring training. And he started the season, and it shows you, one, that spring training doesn't mean a whole lot. And two, he looks like a guy who could dominate on either end. How long it will last that he could do both, I'm not so sure.
I was going to say that was my question because, I mean, as soon as they announced, all right, he's got this elbow injury, I thought, well, that's going to be the end of this experiment because, at some point they're going to want to lock him in on one thing and just say, all right, this is what you are. And I'd imagine that they get the most bang for their buck if he's a lights-out pitcher. So with this type of injury, that means they're just going to nix the DH type thing. And I mean, I don't know. They haven't completely knocked him out for the year yet, but there's talk that, he will be. And so, I mean, what do you think he ultimately ends up as? And they just say, all right, this is what you're doing, and we're just not going to bother with it.
Honestly, he's so good on both ends. It's a pretty toss-up, man. I mean, when I look at him, I think, for my eyes, as far as, look, starting pitching is more valuable than any position player probably if you're going to be a dominant starting pitcher, right? But for my eyes, when I watch him, I think he's probably a little bit better hitter than he is a pitcher in comparison to the rest of the league. I feel like he hits the ball opposite way. I think he's got tremendous power. He can hit soft stuff better than most guys of his age going to the opposite field. But we haven't seen him play over the long haul. What 100 miles an hour plays like over the long haul, right? If he can throw strikes and just be halfway crafty. You don't know what the hitting ability does, but I don't know, man. It's a strange thing to see a guy who could be that successful on both ends. And the thing that is helping him is that he's a right-handed thrower. He hurt his right arm, but he swings from the left side, which means his right arm doesn't really have to extend that much. Right. So it actually helps him. He'll be able to come back and hit earlier than most guys would if he was a right-handed swinger. And so I don't know what's going to happen when he comes back, man. I mean, he's fortunate that he's in the American League and he gets the opportunity to possibly just continue to DH and throw. But this injury will change something. But what that is, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, because when you look at the player, he looks like a hitter. But then you see the pitching results and you're like, man, if a guy can do that, why wouldn't you let him do that? And I just got to think from the Angels' standpoint, I think when they went into it, it was, all right, he's an amazing pitcher, and whatever we get out of him hitting-wise will be kind of house money. And for that team specifically, that's what they needed because they've got all the hitting in the world, or at least enough hitting to win, but they never had a dominant pitcher. And so that's kind of where they were missing. And so I just feel like eventually they were going to lock him into pitching. But it sucks to think that they would take him away from hitting because it's so amazing. Right.
Well, the cool thing for him is, I mean, look, there's always that question mark, and the guys like Rick Ankiel, who actually did pull it off, it doesn't happen every day, but there's always that huge question mark. We already know this kid can pitch in the big leagues. We know he can hit in the big leagues, right? So at the end of the day, if his arm just doesn't hold up, he can go hit. I mean, look, as good as my body feels right now, if I could hit like him, I'd play another 7 years in the big leagues, right? Because I wouldn't need my arm and the rest of my body feels fine. But most of us weren't born with that blessed with that type of ability. And so
I think you're underselling yourself, Bronson, because we got a text from Buddy Boyle who said, "Remind everyone that Bronson hit 2 home runs off of Glendon Rush from the Cubs in the same month." So
that's true.
You're selling yourself short, man.
Hey, when I was in Washington, we're taking batting practice every day down there with the Nationals, and man, Max Scherzer is a freaking competitor, bro. He don't want to lose at nothing. done.
No way.
And so we're like taking batting practice every day, and they're joking around. And usually early in the spring, I haven't swung a bat in the off season, and so I don't hit that great in spring, and just don't have a lot of pop. And then it comes as the season goes on. And somebody said something about Bronson hitting 6 homers, and Max was like, "What?" He's like, "Who?" He's like, Bronson. He's like, Bronson, how many homers you hit in the big league? I said 6. He's like, "No way, it's impossible," because I can barely hit the ball past second base at that point. But it always takes me a little bit to get some juice.
All right, well, we've got we
Poor man's Mike Hampton.
Right.
We have a Facebook group for the show, and it has sparked a lot of controversial debates.
Don't try to roll your eyes over how stupid these questions are.
Yeah, these are really
right.
dumb questions, but we need you
these
to
have
weigh
been
in.
raging debates.
I mean, it's unreal how many posts these questions generate.
And how serious people get
Yeah,
about
people are locked into their choices here. So first up, is a hot dog a sandwich?
Oh wow, man, you guys really are.
We hit him with the hard stuff.
Serious shit, bro.
Charlie Rose type
I
questions.
I was talking about A-Rod eating a hot dog on TV, and it looked like he didn't know if he had ever eaten one before. Now you hit me with this?
I like that every question we've asked, you're just like, yeah, man, you just boom right into it, and then hot
Not
dog
that
is a
one.
sandwich.
That
and you were
tripped
like,
him up.
oh shit.
All right, my answer is no.
Oh man,
Hot
That
dog is
sucks.
not a sandwich.
That's it. All right, guys. Good night. We are done here. I am out. The debate has been settled. Your wife
All right,
and now Bronson
I was gonna
Arroyo
say my
have
favorite
decided.
baseball player of all time and my wife now agree.
Well, there it goes.
that kinda
Hot dog's
sucks.
not a sandwich.
Bitch. Bronson, plain cake donuts, yay or nay?
Yay.
Oh,
Whoa, that's a shocker.
I'm all about
Yeah.
the plain cake donuts. Just dip them in the milk, man. You see, because then you don't feel
Damn
so
it.
See, that's
guilty
what I
about
said,
all that
coffee.
extra
Now
BS on top.
my coworker is
The
one who
coffee.
brought up that question. He's going to give me so much
Yup.
shit.
I'm good. I'm glad.
All right.
I'm glad you lost one too. Here.
Yeah, that's fine.
All
Jordan
right.
or LeBron?
Jordan or LeBron? Yeah, I'm taking Jordan.
The easy one.
That's a good. Yeah, it's a good choice. Is Tiger Woods back?
No.
Thank you. In your face.
What up, Joe?
No. He's Bronson Arroyo 2017. He's still got to prove it, man. Still got to prove it, bro. And there's always that chance he just might break down real soon.
All right. When you button up a button-up shirt, do you button from the bottom up or top down?
Top down.
Motherfucker.
That's a real tough one. That's a
Damn
tough
it.
loss to
Top
take on
down.
that. That's a big L to take right there.
Oh, thanks, Joe.
All right. When you're putting on pants, do you zip the pants and then button, or button then zip?
I button then zip.
All right, good.
Son of a
good. Yep,
bitch.
that's a.
I'm
man,
taking all the L's.
Yep.
You know what, though? I'm going to take the W from the hot dog one. That to me is the biggest one, so you know, whatever.
Final question, and this is going to a guy who's not a beer fan, so keep that in mind, everybody listening. Are IPAs just pumpkin spice lattes for white dudes?
No, I mean, listen, too many of my friends they love the IPAs, brother. I can't downplay them like that.
But are they white? And are they the version of pumpkin spice lattes for white girls? I mean, I feel like that's still kind of a yes.
Oh shit! Well, I appreciate you weighing in on those very hot
Yeah,
topics.
you
They're
guys still
gonna
got
be-
me on the hot dog one, man. I'm thinking,
Yes!
what is a sandwich? What is a
That's
sandwich?
my
that's
point.
that's what
That's
the
the-
debate
I'm not
is.
sure. For me, it's got to be like you got to be able to load it from the top, dude. You can't load it from the side. That's why the hot dog's not a fucking sandwich.
Okay, so then is a sub a sandwich? If you go to Subway, are you getting a sandwich?
They open it up.
Yeah, because they open it all the way up.
Oh,
and
they
put
don't
on
open it all the
flat.
way up. They cut it.
They cut it.
partially.
You're right. They
Yeah,
cut it. And
they
then
cut it into
they flip it in half.
So
Yeah.
So it's the same thing as a.
Nah, man, he's answered. Anyway, we're moving on.
No, I am gonna win
Nah,
Bronson
bro.
over on this one. We're gonna spend the next 20 minutes on this show me convincing Bronson that a hot dog is a sandwich.
Nah. Should we talk about the finals?
I mean, we
Both
can.
of them?
Yeah. All right. Did you watch any of those? Any of the either the
NBA
Stanley
or
Cup
NHL?
or?
I saw just a little bit of both.
All right.
That's-
That's
a little
that's
bit of
about
both.
how
You
I
probably
feel
have
like
seen
most
as much
people-
as the three of us.
Yeah.
Although
Well,
Joe probably
Joe's-
watched a little bit more NBA than we did.
Joe would send text messages about it. I'd be like, "Oh shit, there is a game going on." Oh fuck! Oh, all right.
My mom, while we were on vacation last week, during I think it was game 4. Or it might have been game 3. Either way, whatever night she was up there, she's like, "You gonna watch the game tonight?" And I'm like, "What game?" She's like, "NBA Finals game." I'm like, "For what? The Warriors are gonna win." She's like, "Yeah, I know, but I mean, I just figured you'd be watching." No, I don't waste time on games that I know the outcome. There's no point. And that was where we spent the entire season. I said last year in July, before the season even began, it would be Warriors Cavs. It was, and that I had the Warriors winning in 6 back then. I stuck with that prediction, and so the Cavs actually made me look like I didn't know what I was talking about because they only won 4 games.
What were the last 3? That was the 4th time, right? That they played in a row, or 3rd?
That was 4th.
That was the 4th time they played in a row.
Yeah.
And no one got swept before.
No,
right? And the Cavs only won 1.
Right.
They're
right.
3. They're 1-3, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I think a lot of people shit on LeBron a little bit, but I mean, the guys played with a totally different ball club.
Every single year.
Almost every single year, dude. And he's having to carry the load on his back, man. I mean, it's pretty amazing what he's done, regardless.
Right. There's no denying LeBron's greatness. It's just the overall predictability of the NBA and knowing that you could stack the deck with those guys on each of those teams, or LeBron and 6 other dudes, whatever, and that's going to be the result. I mean, it's unlike any other sport in that way that I was able to say in July.
Absolutely.
Warriors, Cavs, and not once during the season, no matter what happened, Houston looked like they may knock off the Warriors. The Cavs went through all that transition and all those things happened, and I just not once did I waver. I'm like, it'll be Warriors, Cavs, and it was.
Well, you only got 5 guys out on the court at one time, right?
Right.
I mean, every other sport has more players out on the court unless you're playing a single sport. So you have the opportunity for 20% of what's out on the court to dominate the game. It just can't happen in football or soccer or baseball,
Right.
That's true. I gotta pay up my punishment.
Are you taking a shot? What are you taking a shot for?
This is because I picked the Cavs to win it all.
Well,
that was my
bottoms up.
Yep. Cheers to that.
I thought you boys were drinkers. That's not supposed to be like a punishment.
Oh no! Well, no, it's punishment just because
It's not really
we bet
good.
drinks.
It's not really good to mix Fireball with like something like a peanut butter chocolate.
And a lot of time, our punishments are way worse than said liquor. I mean, if you mix Hypnotic with just about anything, it doesn't go down.
It's no good, right?
Yeah.
Well, I hadn't tried that since high school when I was mixing St. Ives and freaking malt liquor and fucking Boone's Farm. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and frequently I get iced. If you know what that is.
I do know what that is, yeah.
So I mean that's definitely a punishment when that happens. So we have alcoholic punishments on this show where we consume plenty of alcohol.
It's basically just an excuse to drink more. Because then when my wife gets mad, I'm like, no, I had to do it for the show. I lost the bet. Sorry, I had to take a shot.
For science.
I'm not surprised by the outcome of that. I'm surprised the Cavs got swept, but
I think that was the only surprise, right? I mean,
but even that, I feel like after game 1, after
it was
JR
over.
didn't call timeout and LeBron, like it
Mentally,
was done.
the
They
series
were
was just
checked
done.
out of that series, and that's why I didn't really care at that point because you saw it, like all those videos that came out of LeBron screaming at Ty Lue on the sidelines, just pissed off that he didn't call timeout, calling out J.R. Smith, like it was done. When he walked out of that press conference and smoothed out his shorts and grabbed his purse and left, it was over, man. It was done.
Yeah.
And I got to say, man, coming out with the fucking hand brace or the cast or whatever.
At the end.
That's brutal, bro. Brutal, dude.
It's a
Listen,
bad look.
You go out, you just say what you got to say. We got our asses kicked, man. We got whooped. And then you go put the brace on when nobody else is around, dude. Even if that's true, because look, he's giving high fives, he's giving handshakes, he's playing 3 games after that. You can't make that part of the conversation after the fact. No chance.
No doubt.
Very disappointing.
We'd also like to mention that Bronson is wearing Jordans currently, the Jordan 11s for those of you who were wondering. So I mean, there's no doubt what
I'm becoming more fond, of high top shoes as I get a bit older. I didn't think I would usually want to wear these, man. And over the years,
Look, as soon as
my
you
jeans are getting skinnier, and I'm starting to wear high tops a bit.
As soon as you walked up, I was like, he's wearing Jordan 11s. I mean,
Oh, bro, it amazes me, man. I'll go out to a baseball camp with the kids, and they know exactly. Those are the 72-10s, bro. Those are dope. I'm like, how do you know that, bro? 72-10s. I didn't even know what that was until Winker told me.
That's impressive.
I can't pick them out. I'm like, those are shoes.
I know you can't, but as a sneaker guy once and still, and especially when it comes to Jordans, it was like, the original.
I'm like, they're not white New Balances. They're cool shoes then. Like that's the only delineation I know. If it's a white New Balance, it's not. You're not supposed to wear that. That's the dad shoe.
Should we talk about the NHL?
Yeah, let's do.
That was a little bit more shocking.
That was and it was kind of an interesting series because you had a team that had never won a Stanley Cup before. Somebody was going to win it, whether that was Vegas in their first year or Washington in their however many years. Joe was all on the Vegas bandwagon on that one.
But I think we all were, though. I mean, I don't think.
No. But he picked Vegas and he lost. So
right,
he
but I'm just saying,
in
general, though, nobody ever thought Washington was going to make it to the finals. Then they do.
No, we all thought they were losing to Pittsburgh like they do every year.
Well, and every single round is like, all right, well, okay, so they won, but they'll lose here, right? Oh, wait, nope, they're in the finals. Well, no, they'll still lose here. Oh, no, they didn't. That was the weirdest part, was that they just kept going and they finally won it all. So
I think it's good that Ovechkin got his cup.
I only think it's good because of how he celebrated. He has celebrated like I could only.
We talked about earlier.
Like, I would definitely celebrate exactly like Ovechkin celebrated. Just no fucks given since he's won everywhere with it. That's the way you got to do it if you've never won it and been in the league that long.
He went straight Gronkowski on us?
Yes.
I mean, he's doing cake stands out of the cup.
Gronk, though. Yeah. I mean, it's been nuts.
I'm pretty sure Ovechkin is still drunk.
Yeah,
no, that dude has not been sober
wake up and
since
look,
the
I'm
cup.
like, did he do anything else crazy? I mean, he's got to have done something because
Listen,
it's
dude,
every day.
Those guys are a different breed, bro. I remember I was in AAA one time playing in Sacramento. Guys went up and watched hockey game, and they came back and like, listen, we're never going to complain about injuries. He said, I saw a dude icing both his knees, both of his shoulders, and his face, and he was riding the bike after the game. You know what I mean? Like, he's like,
Hockey
not complaining anymore about a sore shoulder,
man.
man.
They are nuts.
Different breed.
Man, that's crazy. Vegas was super excited, though, that Vegas lost, as in the casinos.
Yeah, because they didn't want to pay all those crazy bets that anybody had taken.
What was it,
at the beginning of the
500 to 1
season.
odds?
Yes.
To start the season?
Yeah, to start the season.
And there was like 4 or 5 people that had taken the bet when it was at those odds.
They were like huge payouts. Not 4 or 5 people that took the bet. 4 or 5 people that it would have been like in the millions in payouts.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like 4 or 5 people that were going to.
That's not even
that stood to make.
That's not even counting
amount.
the thousands of people that put down like $50. And
right. Yeah.
I mean, it was going to be a disaster for Vegas. If
the funniest part is
won.
the next group of idiots when an expansion team comes in who's like, oh man, Vegas did it that one time in hockey. I'm totally going to put all this money on it, trying to capitalize.
Gruden's our coach. I'm putting it, and they're winning the Super Bowl.
And then
baby.
realize 5 minutes later that, oh wait, that's a once in a lifetime type thing. Expansion teams don't actually ever do that.
Right.
So
do you think they do anything worthwhile next year, or do you think that team is done?
No, that's the question now, because that's what I was thinking. Okay, so they get swept, but they make it the finals in their first year, and it's all highs.
They didn't get swept, right? There wasn't a sweep in that one.
It wasn't?
No.
How many did they win one?
I think they won one.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I lost track of the series because doing the NBA. But okay, so they won one. But they come back, right? And they weren't supposed to do that. So how does year 2 go when there's kind of all these expectations, right? I mean, because they're not going to lose anything. They're going to come in and everybody's like, hey, here's this team that did miraculously and they made the final. I mean, why wouldn't they at least come close to it again? I gotta think that they don't even make the playoffs next year or something.
It's a
crazy
very real
like
possibility.
That.
Like I mean, it's a sophomore slump type situation.
It's
where
lightning in a bottle that they caught this year. I couldn't imagine them doing that next year. Like, not even close.
No, I definitely don't think they come back next year. I think they might make the playoffs just because they've got a good core of. Yeah, well, that too. Okay. Yeah, like everybody.
Who was there? Did they get players from like an expansion team?
Yeah, there's an expansion draft.
So who was their stud? Who was their
Marc-Andre Fleury, their goalie.
Yeah,
was
their goalie was
they
the
built
most
the team
named
around him.
player.
And that's the other thing too. Fleury has now gone to the Stanley Cup 3 years in a row.
Because back-to-back years with Pittsburgh,
and then again with Vegas.
Which, by the
that's
way,
got to fucking wear on a dude, right?
I don't think I realized until halfway through the season that he was their goalie, and I thought, how did he get away from Pittsburgh? Because. Like, how did Pittsburgh expose him
Pittsburgh
to the draft?
They had another goalie coming up that they wanted to essentially they were ready to move on from Fleury, and they were just like, all right, he's eligible for the draft, so if you don't take him, we'll keep him, but if you do take him,
we're not that
good
hard
luck
for
man.
It. Yeah. Okay,
and then
I wondered
he played lights out last year. I mean, he had a
he did exactly what he did for the Pittsburgh years, which was play crazy in the playoffs. And I think that's why Pittsburgh was willing to let him go. A lot of times he's just kind of whatever in the regular season, but then flipped the switch in the playoffs. And so it was they wanted more consistency.
Yeah, and I just feel like that team, because he's now gone 3 seasons where he went the full distance.
Right.
I think eventually that wear and tear has got to show up on him, and I just don't see them having the same success next year. I think they could do well. I think they could still be a decent team, but I don't think.
Come on, bro. The Buffalo Bills went back 4 times in a row. Jim Kelly still had some left in the tank after 3.
They can pull it off
Don
twice.
Let's talk real quick. The World Cup started today.
Oh, did it?
It sure did, man.
Oh, cool. I checked out on the World Cup last year when the U.S. didn't qualify, so that's cool.
Bronson, do you follow soccer at all, man?
Closest I get to soccer is watching Pearl Jam in Rio. That's about it. That's it, man.
Well, there you have it.
I have no idea about international soccer. Like, I don't follow it enough.
Yeah.
I know, like, the big teams that it's like, yeah, you could probably put money on Brazil, and that's a fairly safe bet to win the World Cup. But it's just because it's Brazil, and I feel like they're always – or Argentina. Like, you bet on Argentina, and that's a
the
good
saddest part about it to me when I was thinking about, all right, everything gets started up today, and I already knew, when the U.S. got eliminated, I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm checked out. But I was already like – all right, can we fast forward to next year when the women are playing? Because, our women will be rocking, and I'll be all into that. I mean, I know more about the damn women's team and care more about it. That's the whole, sad part about the men's team is that I'm like...
I don't think it's a sad part.
No, I mean, it's not sad, and then it's sad for the fact that the men can't even qualify to compete. I mean, it's not like, all right, I went Sportum, and it's like, it's sad that, I got to settle for these women. No, it's sad that the men couldn't even get there. I mean,
I think Scott's just pissed because when the guys rip their shirts off after a goal, it ain't no big deal. But when the women do, it's like, whoa, yeah.
I mean, there's also that. I mean,
Scott just likes watching the dirties. That's all.
And my wife's asleep now. We can say that. Nobody wants to see dudes sliding around shirtless.
True.
That was it started today. Russia beat Saudi Arabia in the opening game
match.
5-0. I think was the final in that one. Good for Russia. I knew
that's
they were
cool.
going to
Should
win.
we
that
talk
one.
about the bigger deal? The fact that the U.S.
Yes,
the entire
I was
going to
get to that, but okay, yeah, go ahead, man.
Let's
You
just slide on that.
Yeah.
North America getting the bid for 2026 to host the World Cup.
Cincinnati is listed as a potential site.
I'm not gonna lie. I said on the podcast I was on earlier, I hope that we don't get it. And that's not me being a hater against Cincinnati or anything. I just don't. I love the idea that the World Cup is in the United States. I don't love it being where I am because it creates a lot of chaos and stuff.
Right.
Like, oh, let it be in Indy, let it be in some Chicago, a drivable distance, but don't bring it here because it just brings all the issues. And if I still work at Channel 9, it's going to be an extra headache. Like, I can't enjoy things when they're here. I can enjoy them when they're on the periphery.
Dude, we're about to have the newest soccer stadium in the United States.
But it wouldn't even be there. It'd be at Paul Brown, no matter what, because Paul Brown is the one that's equipped to handle it. Like, that stadium that they're going to build for FC isn't going to be up to World Cup standards.
I mean, it hasn't been built yet.
No, I know, but they have to have
You don't think
seats.
Birding is like...
They have to have capacity enough, and no matter what, that stadium isn't going to have capacity enough to fill out for a World Cup.
All right, well then in that case, I don't want it in Cincinnati because I don't want to hear douchebags complaining that, well, we paid all this money for a stadium and they're playing
I mean, there's
it
a lot of
all
factors, like I
around.
said.
We
Yeah, I
gotta
mean,
deal
it's easier if it's outside of the city.
Like, I'll say today, baby.
I'd love to be at a World Cup game. I don't want the World Cup to be in my backyard.
Well, didn't LA just get? They just got the Olympics for something, didn't they? Los Angeles, I think.
Man.
They might have just got the 2020 Olympics, or
I think they did, but it also, it's like those cities are more equipped to handle stuff like that.
Right.
Not that Cincinnati's not, because they're obviously one of the finalists, but it's just the other cities have bigger stadiums that are more new, and if with like Paul Brown, they'd have to do renovations and stuff. And,
well, I was in
people
Rio
would
in
bitch
March
and all that
seeing
stuff.
Pearl Jam. And you could see all the buildings where they had the Olympics there, and they just weren't being used. I mean, literally, you're talking like
abandoned.
all the pools,
Right.
high dives, just full of algae. There's like they do nothing with them, so it's like literally just tearing the city up.
That's what happens in
unreal.
all these second and third world countries. They get all this money and all these things to build these stadiums, and then they're just completely eliminated afterwards.
Right.
And
There's nothing to do with them afterwards.
Yeah, well, and I mean that's why when they say, all right, it's going to be in North America, and most of the sites are going to be in the U.S. I mean, it sucks to say for the rest of the world, but it should generally be in places that can handle it like that. Like, I mean, where, in countries in Europe where those stadiums aren't going to be abandoned, and it's not just a drain on the local economy that already can't afford it to just
Spend
throw
billions
these things.
to build this
Because, I mean,
stuff
they're
and
going to
then-
the stadiums they're going to now are the ones that are already built. Like here, San Francisco and Atlanta's probably definitely going to be one, and all these are all stadiums that have been built within the last couple of years that can handle it. So
I'm good. Actually, the beer tastes great, honestly. But
just wave it off.
It's just like it's a strange feeling, man. I don't know. The buzz from alcohol is kind of a numbing feeling. I don't really love it, man.
I understand.
That's cool. I got no problem cracking it.
I can. Yeah, I was gonna say I'll chug this real quick. And we can split the last one.
We'll split that, baby.
All right, Joe. You said there's a question from the comments.
Yes. So, as a pro athlete, do you think an individual player's success and legacy should be measured by the number of championships won? Is that one of the biggest factors for success?
I don't think it's one of the biggest.
Yeah, no, that's.
I don't think it's one of the top ones at all. You know, I mean, I think because, you know, there's too many variables to be a championship team. You got to have a team around you, right? And regardless of, even if it's basketball and there's 4 other guys, well, we're talking about LeBron, but he can't win it all by himself.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And if you're playing baseball, you're one of 9 guys, if not more, that are because guys are coming out of the bullpen every night. So you're playing with 11, 12, 13 guys every single night. You put up fantastic numbers your whole career. Your legacy shouldn't depend on that. I think it can add to the legacy. I just don't think it should take anything away from you if you don't get there.
So you want to reconsider that Jordan LeBron
decision?
No,
I think I don't think
they were
so.
totally setting you up with that question.
Yeah,
though.
right. But to
whoever
Bronson's,
asked that was definitely setting you up.
To Bronson's
for that
point,
one.
though, in baseball, it's much
Lou the dog.
It's much different though, because a guy goes out and throws and wins 300 games, but he never wins a ring. Like, his legacy is cemented no matter what.
Yeah,
right.
Just because he could have pitched with his 0 ERA.
It's the Dan Marino effect.
Right,
Dan
yeah.
Marino
if he never got run support, then it didn't matter.
Dude, Ken Griffey Jr. never made it to the playoffs except once at the very end of his career with the White Sox, and he just got traded over there.
Wow. I don't think I ever
No,
realized.
it's not true. No, in Seattle, he was in once.
I was going to say, the 95.
Early on in
The
95.
slide. Yeah,
and then
yeah,
after that, he never was in. He never won a ring.
Which
and
is
so
crazy.
2 times he's in the playoffs in like 20-something years.
That is kind of bananas.
Well,
But you can't
and that
say.
doesn't change. I was going to say, and that doesn't change my perception of Ken Griffey Jr. as a
Absolutely.
baseball
Right.
player. Like, he's one of the all-time greats,
I feel
regardless.
like,
In fact, I feel in baseball, you actually feel like sad for a guy like that versus in basketball, you're like, that guy just couldn't hack
That's
it.
what I was going to say. Sport by sport, it's different. Baseball tends to be more forgiving when it comes to that because there is a lot more parity. You do see teams that just flare up and it's their year and all of a sudden where the hell did the Royals come from and now they got a World Series championship. Like, I feel like baseball is more forgiving with the lack of rings to determine a better
and to expand that, to use your Dan Marino thing, then football somewhere in the middle,
right?
Because
exactly.
every other position besides quarterback isn't measured
right
by
yeah
that.
you can have a great wide receiver that's never won a Super Bowl and they're still
doesn't tarnish their legacy,
right?
yeah.
But except for the quarterback position, but then when it
Right.
comes to basketball, it's all about the rings and that's all they care about because you can make that more impact on the team.
That's why Robert Horry is one of the greatest players of all time in history. 6 rings, big game, Bob.
Big shot, Bob.
Big shot, Bob. There it is.
But that isn't why I would say Jordan. At this point, I don't think.
No.
I don't think that's the reason why. Just because LeBron's not done for one.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I think just because if you get to the finals like he has, and you haven't won as many as Michael has, I just don't think you could. If he scores 10,000 more points in his career than Jordan ever did, and he goes to the finals 12 times and only wins 3 of them or whatever it is, I still think you got to say he's probably the greatest player that ever played the game.
Yeah.
It's not about just the rings all the time because you need help.
I just knew they were totally setting you up with that question.
That's another.
That's
why it was another one of those heated debate questions in the group, like split 50-50.
All right, Joe. Before we get into the polls, do you want to do any whale watching? Okay, we're going to skip whale watching tonight. We'll bring that out next week.
That's
for
fine.
you.
We don't need a whale watching, right?
Then let's get into let's do Consume It or Can It first. How about that?
Sounds good to me.
Consume It or Can It brought to you by Tavor. Go to our website, craftbrewedsports.com. Click the sponsors link. You get a $10 credit to your account after your first order at Tavor. Bronson, we'll start with you, man. This week we had Big Gruesome, a chocolate peanut butter stout from Springhouse Brewing. What'd you think of it, man?
I thought it was great. It didn't, for me, it was smooth on the backside. It also, you tasted other flavors there that you don't normally get in beers at all, which I thought was more enjoyable because, like I said, I'd probably rather eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich than drink a Corona. so for me, the Big Gruesome is doing it, baby. Listen, if I'm going camping, I'm taking a Big Gruesome.
Also setting the bar low there because I'd probably rather eat a peanut butter sandwich than drink a Corona too, but that's just because I really like peanut butter and jelly.
Springhouse Brewing is going to be like they're going to contact us and be like, can we use that clip? Can we use
no
Bronson
doubt.
Arroyo?
Bronson Arroyo would take his shit Camping.
That's gonna be their. You're gonna see that commercial. Like if Bronson Arroyo was going camping, he'd bring Big Gruesome.
No, and that's great. What's great though is getting a non-beer drinker for the most part's perspective on these beers. So many times our guests and obviously us beer drinkers, and so it's skewed. I mean, we rarely get anything where people are like, I'm not gonna drink it because I just don't like it. It's just whatever. But I'm gonna go ahead and give it a consume. I will say there's much better peanut butter chocolate stouts out there. This is not one of my favorites. We've had a couple on the show. I've had a few off the show. I mean, if you're looking for that real hardcore peanut butter flavor, this isn't going to do it for you. It's a lot heavier on the dark chocolate, and it's real muted. Like the peanut, it just tastes like peanuts and chocolate versus peanut butter.
Yeah, you're right. Like when I first started that peanut flavor was like super strong.
Disappeared.
The more you got into it, the more that peanut flavor disappeared. And I'm big into, if I'm going to have a peanut butter chocolate stout, I want it to taste like a Reese's cup.
Right.
And it definitely changed. And maybe that's just my fault for drinking 3 of them. Like that could be a me problem and not a beer problem. Well, yeah, but
but beer's got to hold up, man.
It's got to hold up. I'm still gonna consume it. It's still a good beer, and I would definitely say if you're into those, pick this one up if you see it. But you're right, there are better peanut butter chocolate stouts out there. Sweet Baby Jesus, Nutcase, which isn't even chocolate. That's just a peanut butter porter. That's a good one. And maybe it's because it's a stout, not a porter. That could be the difference, too, because stouts have that little bit more of a bite to it than a porter does.
I never thought about that. Because they all kind of sit in the same realm, I guess, the stouts and the porter. So it's not...
I see.
Didn't knock it off of me.
I see. Yeah. I see how it is.
I'm just saying. They all look the same.
They all look alike.
Yeah,
too?
they all look
okay.
alike.
All the dark beers look alike. Cool,
That's
man.
right.
All right. Well, that got weird. As a consumer candidate brought to you by Tavor. This week, our Motherfucker of the Week poll, we had Kobe Bryant versus Charles Barkley. Scott, you want to refresh us on why they were picked?
Kobe Bryant decided he was going to tell LeBron that he should have done what he never did in his career, and that's pass and trust his teammates more, while Charles Barkley talked shit about anybody who said that LeBron was better than Jordan and that he would punch them in the face, and then proceeded to duck out when he saw LeBron in a tunnel leaving Game 4. I actually didn't get a chance to vote for this one.
All right, well,
I can do it right now. I'm going to do it right now, but I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
Oh, well, go ahead.
Yeah, let's have Bronson.
Yeah,
give us
who's your motherfucker?
Who's your motherfucker of the week on this?
I'm definitely going with Charles because he had to punch LeBron in the face in order to get out of this one.
All right, one vote for Charles there. Scott, who's your pick?
Kobe's a motherfucker no matter what he's doing.
Mm-hmm. That's where I'm at.
Just waking up, I'm like, oh wait, that's right, Kobe. He raped somebody. He's a motherfucker.
Boom! You took it right took the words out of my mouth. Kobe is a rapist. I will never miss an opportunity to remind people that. So Kobe Bryant is my motherfucker.
I'd also like to mention, even if that hadn't happened, he was still the motherfucker of the week.
No, if that hadn't happened, I would have picked Chuck.
Nah.
Because you can't hide from the guy after you talk all that shit.
You can't sit there and say the things that everybody told you during your career that you didn't do, and then be like, "Yeah, that dude should have."
That's
totally
every
done
single
that.
person that talks politics in our country.
No,
They're 100% hypocritical. But Chuck was like, "No, I'm gonna slap people in the face." Oh, was that LeBron? I'm gonna hang over here and hid like a bitch. He hid like a bitch.
But he didn't say he would slap LeBron.
That's
LeBron
true. He said he'd slap
just
anybody
in general. I mean,
He did say.
I bet you he would have been.
He did say
slapping.
he'd hit Draymond Green. He backed off of that one real quick when somebody was like, "Draymond's right downstairs if you want to go talk to him." He was like, "No, I was just kidding." But
Joe, who you got?
But Kobe's a rapist, so Kobe.
Who, me?
There's only one person named Joe on this.
So the poll answer is 68% to Kobe Bryant.
Wow.
Yeah.
There it is. The rapist loses again.
I mean, that was easy. That was easy. It was like taking candy from a baby.
All right, well, there's your Motherfucker of the Week. We need a sponsor for Motherfucker of the Week.
We do.
So if you guys know anybody, hit us
Shout
up.
out to 12 Ounce Sports.
Hell yeah, this is our station debut.
Yeah, we did not shout them out at the top of the show, but we are now part of the 12 Ounce Sports Network. So you guys can catch us on, obviously, here live every week when we run. But what's the other time slot that they threw us in?
They're just going to replay it throughout the week.
Throughout the week?
So
All right.
we'll be live
So there
on
you
their
go.
TuneIn app every week at our normal time. So if you're on the go, you can't get us on YouTube. Pull us up on 12 Ounce Sports TuneIn. But you can also catch the replays throughout the week. Tons of good shows on that network, too. There's a lot of good programming. Make sure you check them out, support them. Thank you, 12 Ounce Sports, for having us. And Bronson, thank you for being on the show, man.
Dude,
really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Our man.
This was
That's an hour and a half went by. That was quick.
I know, right?
Right?
It goes really. That's what I'm saying. Last time was only an hour, and we were like, that could have been a long show if he wasn't tied up.
And last time we were like, all right, man. He says he's got an hour. We got to get him out of here. We don't want to fuck this up.
Bro.
We got to get him out of
That goes by fast.
I was going to say,
man.
now we hung out with you for a few hours, both before the show and during the show,
Yeah.
and it's like, it still went just as fast, but thank you so much for
really
coming back
for
on the
having me
show.
on, boys. Yeah.
We'll have you on again. For
Oh
sure.
yeah, man, absolutely. You're welcome anytime.
You got the pass. I mean, if you just show up one night
That's it.
and say, we're
We're
doing
in,
the
huh?
show, like, hey, I was in the area. I want to do the pod on a Thursday. Guess what? We could have a guest lined up and be like, hey, you got to go.
Boot it. Bronson's here.
Bronson's here, bro. You got bumped.
Thanks so much again, Bronson. Really
appreciate
appreciate
it,
it,
man.
Yep.
You guys can follow the show at Craft B Sports. Follow Scott at ScottyK_Jr. Follow me at Mike Burlon.
Hey, shout out to Glenn Pleasant, our newest
Yep. Social media
social coordinator.
Really appreciate you hopping on, Glenn, and helping us out. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Hit us all up. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Cheers, everybody.
We out.